How y'all doing? Good, I hope. Ready for another workout? Let's go. I thought I'd start this one off with lever arm flat bench press, mainly for the stretch. You may or may not notice, but I'm going a little bit heavier than I normally do, and that's because last week I ended up testing myself, seeing where I was on strength, and I have to go up in weight in order to get the same results now. It might be common sense, but it does bear mentioning that increasing your weight is inevitable. You will get stronger, even if you're training for hypertrophy and muscle gain. It's all the same. And by all the same, I mean if you're training for strength or if you're training for muscle gain, it's increased resistance over time. So, increased resistance, increased weight. And as I always say, although I'm not training specifically for strength, I do have to increase the resistance in order to constantly put stress on the muscle. And that constant stress is an increase in weight. Your muscles will try and adapt by getting stronger, by getting bigger. So you have to increase the amount of weight or stress you put on them. But for all I know, you might be pushing for strength. So there's that. Next, I'll do a little bit of incline bench with the lever arms. Typically that's what I'll do. I'll do a flat movement for chest, and then I'll do an incline, and I'll typically follow it up with some sort of fly movement. Dumbbells or cable. At any rate, this incline bench press does target the upper chest, which for a lot of people is an area that's tough to hit, and a movement like this is perfect for it. And if you don't have access to a machine that duplicates this movement, dumbbells or a barbell will be just as good. In fact, I'd go as far as saying free weight is even better than any machine. That's just my opinion. As for me, I like to hedge my bets and go back and forth between machine and free weight. Never let the muscle adapt. Anyway, on the next exercise, I use a wacky camera angle, mostly to show good form, but also because it looks funny. You'll notice at the top of the movement, I don't bring the dumbbells together. Bringing them together is giving your chest a chance to rest and taking away tension. Not that there's anything wrong with bringing the dumbbells together at the top of the movement. If that's what you like to do, that's what you do. Either way, control the movement at the bottom. Like, there's the most dangerous place. When you bring it down, don't bounce at the bottom, control it, and then bring it up slowly. The bottom of this movement is where most injuries occur. Muscles stretched under tension is a recipe for disaster if you don't use good form. This movement here has slowly but surely become one of my favorite movements for back training. It's basically the same thing as if you were using dumbbells, but you're kind of stuck in a certain plane of motion. This doesn't allow any kind of side-to-side sway. You're basically locked into a perfect range of motion. This standard generic exercise, whether it's with a max grip type attachment or a long bar, the standard bar should be built into pretty much any back workout. There aren't a whole lot of exercises that'll work as well to build the sweep in your lats. But this one here is exactly the one you want to use to do that. Well, do that until you're able to do chin-ups. That's technically where you want to put all your effort into, but until you're able to do that, use this exercise. Admittedly, I can't yet, but I'm working on it. I have noticed though that compared to 3.5 months ago when I started, I have built considerable amount of development in my upper back as compared to then. So yeah, eventually I'll get to the point where I'm doing chin-ups. That is my goal. Wide grip is just the same as the medium grip lat pull down, but you're just hitting a different set of muscle fibers. You'll notice it feels a little different too. On to shoulders, and one of my favorite exercises, although my shoulders don't particularly like them, dumbbell military press. Actually, on my first set, I was using a hell of a lot more weight, but I got a little pinch in my left shoulder, so I ended up having to back it off. Besides avoiding injury, I lowered the weight because my form just looked sloppy. So all this ego lifting crap is pointless. Only use weight that you can control perfectly, or as perfectly as you can get it. Honestly, that should be the goal with every exercise. Only use weight that you can control perfectly. This is an interesting exercise. Unlike with dumbbells, you'll be able to maintain tension on the deltoid for the entire range of motion. Beyond that, it's not all that easy to cheat the weight up. Well, you could cheat the weight up, but as long as you fight the eccentric, the downward motion of that movement, you should be good to go. finally, we polished this workout off with shoulder shrugs. Although I'd say my favorite way to do these is with a Smith machine, I do like to jump on free weights every so often, typically dumbbells or curl bar. Whichever way you choose to do them, I would just strongly recommend you don't roll your shoulders. You just bring your deltoids up to your ears, if you can imagine that. With this exercise, if you start rolling your shoulders, it could cause some rotator cuff damage. It is a simple exercise, and just keep it simple. And that'll do it for this workout. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.